Hey, this is Jason Spangler. I'm here with a longtime friend, Hank Birdsong, who we've done videos together. And
we've done videos. We've
deals.
Made lots of trades, lots of deals over the years.
Yeah, definitely. So Hank is here at the Charlotte Trade-O-Ree, and we talked about an opportunity to show you guys his unique idea for a collection. And this is something you hear talked a lot in our hobby is, what do you collect and what's your system? And I think, Hank, you really have a unique system that I'm a big fan of. I think it's really, really cool.
Well, here's how it got started.
Okay.
I was collecting North Carolina and South Carolina flaps. I mean, when I was a kid, I would just trade one for one at NOAC to get flaps. I was just trying to get numbers. And so as an adult, I've been collecting North Carolina, South Carolina lodges. And what happened was, after doing that for several years,
long time.
I had everything. Most of my lodges are complete from North Carolina and South Carolina, and it was kind of boring at that point because I had trading partners in each lodge. So we'd just show up at a fellowship. I'd get their patches that they'd give me my and we'd just make a switch, and pretty much my trading was over. I mean, I could trade one for one with folks, but I didn't have any goals anymore. So I decided to go back to my roots and start trying to do a name, numbers, first flap collection. And I figured there's no way I'm gonna finish that. It's not gonna happen. So that's what got me started. I figured that I'm never gonna finish it. So it's a great thing to do. So what I did is I came up with a list of all the different lodges, and then I'll pull up one page here. What I'll do is I have the number here, what the first flap is here, and then the name of the lodge. And so what I've done is I'm trying to get 3 issues from each lodge in the collection. Why 3 issues?
Yeah.
Mainly because on a best hobby page, there are 3 slots.
Yeah.
So I figured, one lodge per page, and then sometimes I'll go onto the back.
Yeah.
I'll show you a few of those. But that's kind of what got me going.
Show me that one again, because I want to point something out to people. Is that so it's interesting here to look at this S1, S3, S5B, but then on the back, it's a different patch. Like sometimes I can see the idea of having like different issues from the same lodge because they would look different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the S2 is the hard one. You never know.
Yeah.
It's not always the first flap is the hard one.
Sure. And it's interesting. Look at this one. I brought this just because I saw that.
Yeah.
This is a shot of I had there are only 2 issues. Mm-hmm. And I had the other issue, but turns out it was a fake.
Oh, really?
And so I did some research on it.
Yeah.
I was able to return the fake. No problem. Very reputable person.
Okay.
But as a result, the fake's at the top, and this is the real patch.
Oh.
And so I learned.
Right.
In going through, you got to be wary of that. I mean, it's the lowest kind of pond scum that does that kind of stuff. But
and some of those fakes are really old. I'm guessing those are pretty old. They don't look like modern stitching. It
was a pretty good fake, but there are subtle differences that point it out. But anyway, I saw that one patch, and that's why I brought that sheet. Okay, so what I do is I will take let's see, 1, 2. See, this is a lodge where I have the F1, the F2, the F3. Mm-hmm. So first 3 issues. But what I'm trying to do is get 3 old issues. That might be the F1 and then S1 and then S2, or F1, F2, S1. Right. But 3 old issues, and then I'm done in that lodge.
Yeah.
So when I'm done in that lodge, I will mark it with the orange here. If I have the first flap, I'll mark the first flap as green. And then over here, if I have the number, then I mark it in green. So you can see, this has the most, results.
Right.
I'm missing some first flaps, and then having 3 issues, is even a little tougher.
Yeah.
So there's some blanks there.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so that's what I do, and then I just put over here what my issues are. So when I come to a Trade-O-Ree, I bring my spreadsheet.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of pages like this, and I can go to somebody's table and I can see, okay, I've got of this 563, the S1, the S3, and the S9. So what I want to get is the S2, which coincidentally is right here on the table.
Oh, this little patch that came out of my eBay store.
That's right.
I'm bringing to the Charlotte Trade-O-Ree.
That's right. That
we're
was
going to see a live upgrade.
Very convenient.
Should I get my Sharpie out and scratch out S9?
Anyway, but then I'll have the Osceola. I have the F1, the S2, and the S6. So what I want to get is an S1.
So you're always prioritizing getting the older flap, not necessarily like a prettier design or anything like that.
For the most part, yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here these I've got the F1, S1, S2, S1, S2. So those are done. Up here I've got the F1, the S1, and the S3. So if that lodge has an F2 or an S2, either one would finish me out. Okay. And so in general, what I'm looking for is which one's easier to get. If the S2 is a $300 flap, but the F2 is a $10 flap, I'm gonna go for the F2. Right. I'm kind of cheap like that.
Okay, so someone's gonna watch this video and they're gonna say, Hank, what are you doing about varieties like F1A, B, C, S2, whatever, ABC? What are you doing about varieties?
Well, that's interesting because I was just looking at that. I was just filling in some pages last night. And there was one lodge that only had 2 issues, and so I have a blank spot. But I had an F1A and an F1B and an S1, so I just filled out this page like that. Yeah. So, and I will. On the first issue, I want the first issue. Right. Sometimes that can be an A, B, or C. Sometimes it has to be the A. Just depends on the lodge. And then some of these newer lodges, it's hard to know what the subsequent issues are. So I just try to have 3 patches in there until that sort of gets sort of plays out.
Paul Myers came and visited me about a year or so ago and explained to me his collection. And it's interesting in that he does something similar to you, but he is more interested in getting like a flap and CSP and a council patch, a CP odd shape, and like a camp patch. Like, so he has like a page for each lodge or each council.
Each council, yeah.
And then he's including a flap in there. So, but it's sort of the thing. You and I both grew up as like OA kids who were patch traders collecting OA flaps. So the idea of like you collecting red and white strips to go with this collection would be a bit, off the beaten path.
That would be off the beaten path for me. I've always wanted to trade flaps. It was interesting because I grew up in Wahissa 118, and when I was a kid, I think it was $1 or $1.25 a flap. And so when I went to NOAC, I'd buy 30 flaps and just trade them 1 for 1. Yeah. And if somebody thought theirs was worth more and they wanted 2 for 1, I didn't need it. Yeah. And so I had a pretty good numbers collection. It wasn't anything like what I've been able to do as an adult. I didn't have as much disposable income when I was a kid.
Sure, that happens when you get gray hair.
Exactly.
Some of us anyways. Yeah.
With gray hair, you have more time, usually more money, and so it helps. Yeah. But when I started this collection, when I started doing this, I went back to my old collection.
Oh, the original. You kept it all these years.
Oh, I've had it all these years.
That was lucky that you never got bored and sold it off. A lot of people sell the stuff off.
I did sell some of it.
Okay.
Anyway, but I still had plenty of it. And as I went through, I had several first flaps in there. I'd be like, whoa. Yeah. It was kind of fun. But okay, let's do our transaction.
All right.
We've explained what we do. What do we? This is 563.
Yeah, 563.
So let me turn to
got a little lobster here.
563, and then okay. So I'm taking out the page. Okay. This is the page for 563, and coincidentally, I took a sleeve that'll go in here.
We'd already arranged this deal, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. So I took my best type. What do you call these sleeves?
Yeah, 3-pocket envelope.
3-pocket envelope. I mean, that's kind of my go-to.
And it gives you the space to write out where you can actually see.
Exactly.
People like that.
And I've gotten better at writing in details about patch. I found that I need that. So I'll write in details so that when I get another patch later on, I can compare it and go, okay, oh, that's right. This one has the dark yellow versus the light yellow, or this one has the blue fleur-de-lis, and I can look at it and go, okay, yeah, without too much trouble. Anyway.
Are you still inputting these type of patches on your website as well? I know you were doing that with the North Carolina, South Carolina ones.
I put on patchvalues.com, I have input all the first flaps for all the lodges.
Okay.
And as I find a new one, I'll input that. And then I was just, last night I was going through and adding values. So you can look and see what things have, sold for recently on the first flaps. And then on North Carolina and South Carolina lodges, I put all issues on that. So
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm still doing that.
I gotcha.
So I've had an S1, an S3, and an S9. So what I'm going to do is S9, it goes into my table here at the Trade-O-Ree that I can trade or sell, do something like that. S3 gets demoted to the bottom of the page.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a reordering. I thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't just throw them in there. They have to go in order if I can get the thing in there. Oh.
So if you ever get to see Hank at a Trade-O-Ree, he's got all of these 3-pocket envelopes from Best Hobby Pages in these plastic containers. Where did you source those from?
Well, not plastic. I've gotten cardboard now.
Oh, okay, very good. And literally, you could just thumb through and what percentage of those are ones that came out of these notebooks?
Anything in one of the Best Hobby Pages
came out of this notebook.
Was something that I replaced.
It constantly upgrade.
A constant upgrade. So as I was putting, I've been on a little bit of a spending spree lately, so I had several to put in that I replaced out of my notebooks, and so like I just took that one out. This one will go in right here, and now I have the S1, the S2, S3, and I'm done with this lodge.
Check it off.
So I'll mark that off on my list.
Yeah.
And then this will go in one of these boxes, and I'll either trade or sell it at a Trade-O-Ree, that sort of thing. So anyway, so that's what's going on.
Well, so this is real interesting because I think a lot of people have a similar, different take on this. And one thing I want to get across in this video is that Hank has come up with a very unique strategy for his collection, and there's probably not another person in this hobby doing exactly what you do, but I think that's the whole point, is everyone has to create their own lane, and then you create the rules. And I've done videos about my flap collection where I basically said, in my personal collection, I have one flap from every lodge that issued a flap, and for me, that means that I don't have to have. This is a good question for you. What are you doing about lodges that didn't ever make a flap? They just had some random odd shape.
They didn't have a flap. They're not in my book.
Me neither. Thank you. You just validated my decision.
Now,
Thank you.
I did. There was one lodge recently where they put out. There's one lodge that I didn't have anything from, and I found a round from a 1957 conclave.
You put a round in your bag?
No, it fit. It fit.
Okay.
So just to have that name represented in the book.
Yeah.
Here's one other thing I just thought about as I thumbed through here.
Yeah.
This, I'm still working on this. I got S1, S2, and S14. But one thing I've started doing recently, it's not an official part of my collection, but it's just something that's interesting, is I'm finding the death flap. The last flap from the lodge. If I can get it cheap, I mean, I'm not spending any money on it, but if I can get one easily enough, I'll put it in sort of on the back page. And then I've kind of expanded to be, if I can get the F1, F2, S1, S2, then the S2 will go.
Because there is room on the back. You could have 3 more spots.
So I have a couple lodges that I've got 6 flaps, but just because I liked it.
It's interesting you say death flaps, because literally there's like so much documentation about first flaps, I've never heard someone tell me they collect death flaps. Like literally, I wouldn't know where to find a checklist, other than maybe you just go in there and look for the last issue in Blue Book if that's accurate. You know?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes you have to really go through and and look. But
and how many of them like actually? I'm guessing there was a point in time at which people didn't really. It was sort of like it just was the last flap of the lodge.
It just happened, yeah.
It just happened versus having one that has like the year on it that it merges and that sort of thing.
Like I saw one yesterday. I don't remember the lodge, but you think about anniversaries. They have a 50-year flap.
Yeah.
I saw this one that said 48, and I was like, 48?
Right.
And it turned out it was their last flap, and they knew it, and they said 48 years of whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. And the one has the deer. They have a white deer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what?
Well, there's a lot of those.
Okay. Anyway, they have a white deer, but then their last flap is the back of the deer. It's like it's exiting stage right.
Yeah.
So all you see is
clever.
the rear end of the. And so I thought that was clever, and actually that one got me started in this.
Really? Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, I love this idea of rabbit holes in the hobby, and again, you decide what you're going to collect. When I started my flap collection, I just got random flaps, and then I did a little bit of what you're describing. Like this one has a BSA on it, so then I tried to upgrade to, if the lodge had a Swiss embroidered pre-fleur-de-lis, I tried to upgrade to that.
Right.
Now I wasn't as brave as you to go for a first flap, but I did at least want it to be like, pre-19. I was born in '73, so sort of like if it was like a flap that was issued before I was born.
Which is one of the first NOACs I went to. Was 73.
Well, that's where you get all those. But yeah, anyway, so I think it's a great idea. I'd love in the comments of this video, if anyone would leave, if you have like a unique collection that has weird rules that only make sense in your mind, but you're proud of them and you're willing to share, tell us what your parameters are, what rules you've made for your collection, and we'd love to see that. So, we got one more thing we have to share.
What's that?
All right, this might be like, proprietary knowledge, but this isn't the only part of the spreadsheet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it than this. I don't know if it's in that book or not.
Oh yeah, I mean you're talking about that.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah. So just how far down the rabbit hole you can go.
I have a memory that lasts about 10 seconds. It's about like a flea. So I can't remember values and that sort of thing. So I really like to do research before I start. Anyway.
And Hank is very thrifty when it comes to his patches.
Very thrifty. I try to trade whenever I can, and then make deals the best I can. Anyway, I put what I paid for something, and then all the things I have, and then I have a list of a column for something that was on eBay and didn't sell, what price it was. And I put if something is buy it now on eBay, and then I have several columns of what stuff has sold for, and you'll see some things have just a few sales prices. Some of them go all the way across so I can get a good average, and then this final right here is where I went to one of the sites like Worth Point or with the Scout.
Oh yeah, Boy Scout patch info or something.
Yeah. Anyways, one of those, and they're still using eBay info. But I'll also look and see what people are selling stuff on Facebook, that sort of thing, and make notes in here and come up with an average, and so I can go and somebody wants a whole lot for a patch, and I look at my list. I was like, well, it didn't sell. It was on eBay and it didn't sell for this much. So
right.
So anyway, that way it helps me.
Jason,
again, when I again when I don't have the memory just to retain all this stuff, it really helps.
Gotcha. Well, thanks very much.
No, it's my pleasure. It's fun, and looking forward to a great Charlotte, another great Charlotte Trade-O-Ree. Last year it was fantastic. I found a lot of stuff. This year I'm anticipating being able to sell a lot of stuff.
No, not to give away your secret, but you've got deals lined up with people who are coming.
Yeah.
So you're kind of guaranteed to have a good show.
Yeah.
That's great. That's smart.
There's a couple collections I've sold that I've actually talked to people for months about, but we're gonna cultivate.
Do the deal.
Finish it out here.
Okay.
And then I've gotten some emails from some folks asking me to bring certain things. So I know it's gonna be a good one.
Good.